Okay, so get this. Bitcoin just hit a new all-time high.
Really?
Yeah, over $100,000.
Wow.
And hold on, it gets crazier.
Okay.
There was this 1 hour on Binance where there was like a $1.1775 billion buying frenzy.
Seriously?
Yeah, billion with a B.
Wow. That's...
I know, right?
Yeah.
So we've got news articles and some analysis, even some chatter from the crypto world,
Yeah.
trying to figure out like what's going on with this whole thing and what it means for the future of Bitcoin. You ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about this crazy Binance buying spree.
Yeah.
Crypto analyst Martoon on Twitter, he called it a take-or-buy volume surge
Oh,
for like $1.1775 billion in just 1 hour.
that's insane.
It is,
Yeah.
right? That's not just people, testing the waters.
Okay.
That's like full-on diving into the Bitcoin pool.
Yeah, it really is. So what's your take on that kind of volume? I mean, is this just, a speculative frenzy?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, too. What do you think?
I mean, there's definitely a ton of bullish energy here, but it feels like more than just hype, you know?
Okay.
Remember how Bitcoin's price was kind of flatlining for most of the year?
Yeah.
This could be that signal analysts have been waiting for, like a potential breakout into a major bull market.
Interesting. So all that pent-up energy is finally exploding.
It seems that way. And there are other factors at play, too.
Like what?
Or remember all those whispers about a recession, They're getting louder, and that's making Bitcoin's appeal as a safe haven asset even stronger.
Right. It's like that digital gold everyone keeps talking about.
Exactly. People want something that feels solid when everything else is shaky.
That makes sense.
And on top of that, Bitcoin just hit another huge milestone.
Oh, yeah. Did it climb the global currency rankings or something?
You got it. It just surpassed the Australian dollar.
What?
Yeah, it's now the 10th largest currency in the world by market cap.
Wow, that's huge.
It is. It's a really big deal.
I have to admit, though, I always get a little fuzzy on market cap. What does that even mean? And, why does this ranking matter so much?
Sure. So market cap is basically the total value of all the Bitcoins out there.
Okay.
It's the current price times the total number of Bitcoins in circulation.
Got it.
And surpassing the Australian dollar, it's not just about bragging rights. It shows that Bitcoin is gaining serious legitimacy on the global financial stage.
Right. It's not just this niche tech thing anymore.
Exactly. It's becoming a major player.
Okay, so Bitcoin is definitely having a moment.
Yeah.
And you know what else seems to be adding fuel to the fire?
What's up?
The U.S. election.
Ah,
Trump just appointed a crypto czar.
he did.
What's the story there?
Well, he picked David Sachs.
David Sachs.
Yeah, the former COO of PayPal, as the White House AI and crypto czar.
That sounds pretty official.
It does, right? And the crypto world is buzzing about it.
So what does this signal about the incoming administration's stance on crypto? You think they're going to be pretty hands-off?
Well, Sachs is known for being pro-crypto,
Ah.
He's a big believer in minimal regulation. Even Matthew Dibb, the CIO at Astronaut Capital, pointed out that Sachs has been personally involved in crypto for years.
Interesting.
He even holds coins like Solana.
So we could be looking at a very crypto-friendly U.S. government.
The signs are definitely pointing in that direction. During his campaign, Trump talked about making the U.S. the crypto capital of the planet.
Yeah, and he also mentioned creating a national Bitcoin reserve.
Right. There's a lot of anticipation around what those policy shifts could look like.
This does feel like a turning point for crypto in the U.S.
It does, but I'm sure not everyone is celebrating.
True. There's always skepticism around new tech, especially something as disruptive as Bitcoin.
Right. We're seeing a lot of discussion on Reddit.
Yeah.
Some people are still questioning Bitcoin's legitimacy as a currency,
I could see that.
and a lot of folks are pointing to its volatility.
Makes sense. Bitcoin has had some pretty wild price swings in the past. Does that undermine its potential as digital gold, though?
Well, it's a key point of debate. Some argue that those price swings are actually getting smaller as the market matures. And as institutional investors come in, they see Bitcoin more as a long-term store of value, especially with all the economic uncertainty in the world right now.
So it's like two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
Speaking of holding on to Bitcoin, though, have you heard about that dormant whale that just resurfaced?
Oh, yeah, that's a fascinating story.
So someone who's been holding on to 2,700 Bitcoin since 2013
Wow.
just moved their stash.
Back when Bitcoin was worth, what, like $625 each?
Yeah. How about
And
that?
now,
Over
$277 million. Talk about a nice little wake-up call.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what you would do with a crypto fortune from years ago.
It really does. And it
Yeah.
highlights that long-term potential.
It's a wow moment, for sure.
Mm.
Okay, so we've got this price surge. Bitcoin climbing the global currency ladder. a potential shift in U.S. policy, and a whale making waves. What stands out to you the most so far?
Hmm. I think what strikes me is the sense of momentum. It feels like economic trends, political decisions, technological advancements. It's all pushing Bitcoin forward.
Yeah.
This could be a pivotal moment, and the next few years are going to be crucial for Bitcoin's trajectory.
Yeah, you're right. It does feel like we're just at the beginning of something big,
Yeah.
but we can't ignore the skepticism out there.
Yeah.
Do you think it's justified, or are people just missing the bigger picture?
I think skepticism is natural, especially with something that challenges the norm.
Right.
Bitcoin really shakes up our whole idea of money and finance.
That's true.
But healthy skepticism, it makes us ask tough questions,
Mm-hmm.
analyze the risks and the rewards, and ultimately make informed choices.
Yeah, you've got a point. It's all about
Uh-huh.
doing your own research and figuring out what makes sense to you.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to Bitcoin.
So let's unpack some of these debates that are swirling around Bitcoin.
Mm.
What are the main criticisms, and how are Bitcoin proponents pushing back?
Well, one of the most common arguments against Bitcoin is that it's not real money
Okay.
because it's not backed by a government.
But isn't that kind of the point of Bitcoin, though?
It is. It's about creating a system outside the control of governments and institutions.
Right. So it's all about decentralization.
Exactly. Proponents see decentralization as a strength. It makes Bitcoin resistant to censorship and manipulation.
It gives power back to the people.
That's the idea. So what are some other arguments against Bitcoin that you're seeing?
Well, the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining is a big one.
Right. Critics say the energy consumption needed to verify transactions and secure the network. It's just unsustainable.
Yeah, and that it contributes to climate change.
Exactly.
That's a serious concern. Are there any solutions in the works?
Well, Bitcoin advocates acknowledge this concern,
Okay.
but they also point to the ongoing efforts to shift mining to renewable energy sources.
Okay.
They argue that the potential benefits, things like financial inclusion and economic empowerment, outweigh the environmental costs.
Especially in developing countries.
Exactly. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Definitely something to keep a close eye on. So we've covered a lot of ground, but I want to make sure we're bringing this back to our listener,
Absolutely.
because it's easy to get lost in all the technical details and grand visions.
Right.
But ultimately, this is about how Bitcoin impacts people's lives.
You're absolutely right.
So what does all this mean for the average person? Should they be rushing out to buy Bitcoin right now?
That's a question only they can answer. It depends on their own situation, their risk tolerance, their financial goals. But what's important is to be informed
Right.
and make decisions that are right for you, not just based on hype or FOMO.
Yeah, so no knee-jerk reactions.
Exactly. Do your research and make sure any decisions you make align with your own personal circumstances.
So what are some things people should be thinking about right now, given everything we've discussed?
Well, the first step is education. The more you understand about Bitcoin, the better equipped you'll be to navigate this space and make informed choices.
Knowledge is power, especially in the crypto world.
It really is. And don't underestimate the risks involved. The volatility, the lack of regulation, the potential for scams.
Right.
Don't invest anything you can't afford to lose.
Okay. Education, risk awareness. What else?
Think about how Bitcoin fits into your overall financial plan.
Okay.
Don't jump on the bandwagon just because it's trending. Make sure any investment aligns with your long-term goals.
So educate yourself, assess the risks, plan strategically. Those are some solid starting points.
They are. And remember, this is still a relatively new and evolving space.
Right.
There's a lot of uncertainty, both good and bad.
It's like we're watching the early chapters of a book unfold.
That's a great analogy. Stay informed, be adaptable, and be prepared for the unexpected.
That's some wise advice. Okay, let's dig into some of the potential benefits of Bitcoin. What are some reasons why people are so drawn to this asset?
Well, one of the biggest draws is the potential for growth.
We've seen how much Bitcoin's price can increase, and many believe it's still in its early stages of adoption.
And that potential for growth is what makes Bitcoin so exciting for investors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They see it as a chance to get in early on something big.
Okay, potential for growth. What else?
The decentralized nature of Bitcoin is another major draw.
Right.
It's outside the control of governments and banks.
Which can be very appealing in today's world.
Absolutely. It offers an alternative, a way to opt out of the traditional financial system.
And to control of your own finances.
Exactly. And don't forget about the limited supply.
Oh, right.
Unlike fiat currency, which can be printed endlessly, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins.
It's like digital gold.
That's the idea. This scarcity is a key driver of demand.
Makes sense. Okay, so potential for growth, decentralization. limited supply. That's a pretty compelling case for Bitcoin. But let's be real. There are risks too. We've touched on volatility, but what else should people be aware of?
Well, one major risk is the lack of regulation.
Right. Because it's decentralized, there's no central authority to oversee it.
Or protect investors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a buyer beware situation.
So what are some other potential risks?
Government intervention is another concern.
Right.
Even though Bitcoin is designed to be decentralized, that doesn't mean governments won't try to regulate it or even ban it.
And we've seen that happen in some countries.
Exactly. It's something to be aware of.
Okay, lack of regulation, potential for government intervention.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The complexity of Bitcoin can be a barrier for some people.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to understand how it works.
And it can be intimidating to set up a wallet.
Right. But there are tons of resources available to help people learn about Bitcoin and use it safely.
That's good to know. So we've covered the potential benefits and the risks. But what about Bitcoin as a long-term investment? Is it something people should consider holding on to for years or even decades?
That's a great question, and it's one that a lot of people are wrestling with. There are no guarantees, but Bitcoin has some unique characteristics that make it an intriguing long-term prospect.
Like what?
Well, we've talked about its limited supply, its decentralized nature, its potential for growth,
Right.
all of which could contribute to its long-term value.
And we've seen how well early investors have done.
Yeah.
Like
that dormant whale.
Exactly. That was a great story.
While past performance doesn't guarantee future returns, it does show the potential.
So what are some things people should think about when considering Bitcoin as a long-term investment?
Well, it all starts with understanding your investment goals and risk tolerance.
Okay.
Are you in it for the long haul, or are you looking for a quick profit?
Right, because if you're looking for a quick flip, Bitcoin's volatility might not be your friend.
Exactly.
So goals and risk tolerance are key.
Absolutely. And the overall health and stability of the Bitcoin ecosystem are important too.
Okay.
Is the technology evolving? Is the network secure? Are there any regulatory storms brewing?
Right. All those factors could impact its value.
They could. It's essential to stay informed and be aware of the risks.
Makes sense. Now let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
We focused a lot on Bitcoin as an investment,
Right.
but it's also a technology with potential applications beyond just buying and selling.
You're absolutely right. Bitcoin is much more than just a digital currency.
Yeah, it's a revolutionary technology that could transform so many industries.
It really could.
So let's explore some of those potential applications. How is Bitcoin being used, or how could it be used in the future?
One area where it's already making waves is international remittances.
Right, because it's much faster and cheaper to send money across borders using Bitcoin.
Exactly. It's a huge benefit for people sending money to loved ones in other countries.
Especially in regions with limited access to traditional banking.
Exactly.
Okay, international money transfers, what else?
Micropayments are another interesting application.
Micropayments.
Yeah, these are tiny payments too small to be processed efficiently through traditional systems.
I see.
But Bitcoin's low transaction fees make it ideal for this.
Okay, so you could imagine paying a tiny amount of Bitcoin to access a website, download a song, or tip your favorite artist online.
Exactly. Or support a crowdfunding campaign. The potential is huge.
So international remittances, micropayments. What about some potential applications further down the line?
Well, supply chain management is getting a lot of attention.
Supply chain management. How would Bitcoin play a role there?
Imagine a transparent, tamper-proof record of goods as they move through the supply chain,
Okay.
all powered by Bitcoin's blockchain technology.
So you could track a product from its origin to its final destination.
Exactly. Ensuring its authenticity and eliminating fraud.
Wow, that could revolutionize so many industries.
It really could, especially ones like food, pharmaceuticals, luxury goods.
Where authenticity is critical.
Absolutely.
This is fascinating. What else are people exploring?
The world of decentralized finance, or DeFi, is generating a lot of buzz.
DeFi. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's that all about?
Think of financial services like lending, borrowing, trading,
Yeah.
all built on blockchain technology operating independently of banks and traditional institutions.
Oh.
And Bitcoin is playing a key role in the growth of DeFi.
So the potential applications are vast.
They really are. It's still early days, but the possibilities are mind-boggling.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a technological revolution.
I think so. And it's a revolution that could empower individuals, disrupt industries, and reshape how we think about money.
I'm definitely eager to see how it all unfolds. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to bring it all back to our listener.
Sounds good.
What does all of this mean for the average person?
It really depends on their individual circumstances and goals,
Right.
and their comfort level with technology.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Okay, so what are some things people should be thinking about right now?
Well, education is paramount.
Okay.
The more you understand about Bitcoin, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions.
Right. Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And understand the risks involved.
Good.
The volatility, the lack of regulation, the potential for scams.
Right.
Only invest what you can afford to lose.
Solid advice. Anything else?
Think about how Bitcoin aligns with your overall financial plan.
Okay.
Don't make impulsive decisions just because it's trending.
So educate yourself. Assess the risks. Plan strategically.
That's a great framework.
And remember, this is a constantly evolving space.
It is. There's a lot of uncertainty and potential.
It's a dynamic landscape for sure.
Stay informed. Be adaptable. Be prepared for the unexpected.
Great advice. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our Bitcoin deep dive.
We have.
From that record-breaking price surge to the potential applications of this game-changing technology.
It's been quite a journey.
It has, and there's more to come. When we return, we'll delve into the world of Bitcoin as a payment method, exploring its potential, the challenges it faces, and what the future might hold. Stay tuned. Okay, so welcome back to our Bitcoin deep dive. We covered a ton in part one.
We did.
From like that record-breaking price surge to all the philosophical stuff. But now I think it's time to shift gears
Okay.
and dive into Bitcoin as a way to pay for things.
Yeah.
You know, like actually using it to buy stuff.
Yeah. That's a topic that's getting a lot of attention these days.
It is. So is it realistic to think that Bitcoin could become like a mainstream form of payment?
Right.
I mean, some people even say it'll replace regular money altogether. What are your thoughts?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's been a hot debate in the crypto world for years.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer, and there are definitely some challenges to overcome before Bitcoin can truly go mainstream for everyday transactions.
Okay, so what are those challenges? Like what's standing in the way of Bitcoin becoming our go-to payment method?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles is scalability.
Scalability?
Yeah, it's the ability of the Bitcoin network to handle a huge volume of transactions smoothly and efficiently.
Okay.
Right now, the network is limited in how many transactions it can process per second.
So if everyone suddenly started using Bitcoin for all their purchases, the network could get bogged down.
Exactly. You could end up waiting hours for a simple coffee purchase to go through because the network is jammed.
Not a great user experience.
Not at all.
No.
So are there any solutions to this scalability problem?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, there are some promising solutions being developed.
Okay.
One of the most talked about is the implementation of Layer 2 solutions.
Layer 2 solutions. What are those?
Think of them as like building an express lane on top of the existing Bitcoin highway.
Okay.
These are separate networks that run on top of the main Bitcoin blockchain,
I see.
allowing transactions to be processed off-chain. This takes a lot of the pressure off the main network.
So instead of every single transaction clogging up the main Bitcoin network, these Layer 2 solutions create like a fast track for payments.
Exactly. And there's a bunch of different Layer 2 solutions being developed.
Like what?
Well, one example is the Lightning Network.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
It's gained a lot of traction because it's fast and has super low fees.
Interesting. Okay, so scalability is one challenge. What other hurdles does Bitcoin need to clear?
Well, another big one is volatility.
Right? Bitcoin's price swings can be pretty wild.
They can. And that unpredictability makes it hard for businesses to accept Bitcoin as payment.
I can see that. Imagine a store accepting Bitcoin for a $100 item, and then the next day, the Bitcoin is only worth $80.
Exactly. It's not a sustainable model for businesses.
They need some price stability.
They do. So are there ways to address this volatility issue?
That's what I'm wondering.
One solution being explored is stablecoins.
Stablecoins. What are those exactly?
They're cryptocurrencies designed to maintain a stable value,
Okay.
usually pegged to a stable asset like the US dollar or gold.
So they're less prone to those dramatic price swings.
Exactly. So a business could accept payment in a stablecoin pegged to the US dollar and be more confident that the value won't suddenly plummet.
Makes sense. So we've got scalability and volatility. Any other hurdles we should be thinking about?
User experience is another key factor. Right now, using Bitcoin can feel kind of complicated for the average person.
Yeah, it's definitely not as easy as swiping a credit card or tapping your phone.
Right. Setting up a wallet, dealing with private keys, understanding all the jargon, it can be a bit intimidating.
So for Bitcoin to go mainstream, it needs to be just as user-friendly as those traditional payment methods.
Exactly. And luckily, there are a lot of people working on making that happen.
So what are they doing?
Well, there are developers and companies creating user-friendly wallets,
Okay.
simplifying interfaces, making the whole process of buying, selling, and using Bitcoin much more intuitive.
So it sounds like there's a lot of effort going into overcoming these challenges. But aside from the hurdles, what are the benefits of using Bitcoin for payments? Like, why would someone choose it over a credit card or other existing methods?
There are several advantages.
Like what?
Well, one of the most significant is lower transaction fees.
Okay.
Bitcoin transactions don't rely on traditional financial institutions.
Which often charge high fees.
Exactly. Cutting out the middleman usually means lower costs.
So businesses could save money.
They could, especially those processing a high volume of transactions.
Makes sense. Okay. Lower transaction fees. What else?
Speed is another big. Plus, Bitcoin transactions can be processed way faster than many traditional methods.
Especially international wire transfers.
Exactly. Those can take days to clear.
And time is money.
It is. So those faster transactions can be a huge advantage for global businesses.
Okay. Lower fees, faster transactions, anything else?
Security is another potential benefit.
Okay.
Bitcoin transactions are processed on a decentralized network, making them very difficult to hack.
Right.
And the transparent nature of the blockchain, where all transactions are recorded publicly, adds another layer of security.
So you can see where your money is going, and there's less risk of fraud.
Exactly. That transparency and security can be a big plus for both individuals and businesses.
So we've talked about the challenges and the benefits.
Yeah.
But do you really think we'll see Bitcoin become a mainstream payment method in the future?
That's the million-dollar question. There's a lot of potential. But those challenges we discussed, scalability, volatility, user experience, they're still significant.
So it's a wait-and-see game?
I think so. The future of Bitcoin as a payment method depends on how effectively those challenges are addressed.
Okay, but regardless of whether or not Bitcoin becomes like the dominant form of payment, it's already shaken things up in the world of finance.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It sparked so much innovation, challenged traditional ideas about money, and empowered individuals in ways we've never seen before.
It's been amazing to witness.
It has, and it feels like
That's-
there's still so much more to come.
You're right, the Bitcoin story is still being written, and we're all watching to see what happens next.
Exactly. It's a fascinating time to be following this technology.
Okay, so we're back and ready for the final part of our Bitcoin deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've covered the price surge, the tech, all those potential applications.
Right.
Now let's get philosophical.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like the big ideas behind Bitcoin. You know, what makes it so different from anything that came before.
One of the most crucial concepts is decentralization.
Decentralization.
Yeah, Bitcoin is designed to function without any central authority.
So no government, no central bank calling the shots.
Exactly. No single entity can control the network or manipulate its value.
That's pretty radical, taking power away from those traditional gatekeepers of finance.
It is. It's a shift from a top-down centralized model to a more democratic peer-to-peer system.
So decentralization is a big one. What other philosophical ideas are baked into Bitcoin?
Scarcity is another fundamental concept.
Okay.
Bitcoin is designed to have a finite supply. Only 21 million will ever exist.
Right, it's like digital gold.
Exactly. And that scarcity contrasts sharply with fiat currencies, which governments can print endlessly.
Which can lead to inflation.
Exactly.
So Bitcoin's fixed supply is seen as a way to protect against that.
That's the idea.
Okay, so decentralization, scarcity, what else?
Transparency is another core principle.
Okay.
All Bitcoin transactions are recorded on a public blockchain.
So anyone can see the whole history of the network.
Exactly. It's all out in the open. No more backroom deals or hidden transactions.
That's a big departure from the traditional world of finance.
It is. This radical transparency is meant to foster accountability and build trust.
These are some powerful ideas. No wonder Bitcoin has generated so much passion and debate. But I imagine not everyone is on board with this vision of a decentralized, transparent financial system.
You're right. Bitcoin challenges the status quo.
So there's pushback from those who benefit from the current system.
There is. Change can be threatening.
But it can also lead to progress.
Absolutely. These conversations are important. We need to explore new possibilities and imagine alternative systems.
Bitcoin isn't just a technology. It's a movement, a philosophy, a way of looking at the world that could reshape society.
I agree. It's exciting to think about where it might lead.
But there must be some ethical considerations, too. Are there moral questions we need to be asking as this technology becomes more widespread?
Absolutely. Those questions are becoming more and more important as Bitcoin adoption grows.
So what are some of the ethical challenges we should be aware of?
Well, one concern is the potential for Bitcoin to be used for illegal activities.
Right, because transactions can be pseudonymous.
Exactly. It can be hard to trace them back to real-world identities.
So there are concerns about money laundering and purchases on the dark web.
Exactly.
Okay, so illicit activity is one ethical concern. What else?
Another concern is that Bitcoin could worsen existing inequalities.
I see.
Because it's still relatively new and volatile.
Right.
Its value can fluctuate a lot, and that creates opportunities for those with resources and knowledge to profit.
While those without those advantages might get left behind.
Exactly. It's important to be mindful of that potential.
Okay, and what about the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining? We talked about that earlier.
Right. The energy consumption is significant, and the reliance on fossil fuels in some cases is a valid concern.
So are there solutions being explored?
There are. There's a growing movement to make Bitcoin mining more energy efficient
Okay.
and a push to use renewable energy sources.
So it sounds like people are trying to create a more ethical and sustainable Bitcoin ecosystem.
They are, and that open dialogue is crucial.
We've really covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
From the technical nuts and bolts to the philosophical and ethical questions.
Right.
It's clear that Bitcoin is more than just a digital currency.
It really is.
It's a force for change, a challenge to the status quo.
I couldn't agree more. It's been a fascinating conversation.
It has, and thanks for sharing your insights. So as we wrap up this episode, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this deep dive?
I think the key takeaway is that Bitcoin is more than just a technology or an investment.
Okay.
It's a powerful idea, a movement with the potential to change society in profound ways.
It's up to all of us to engage with it thoughtfully and responsibly.
Exactly.
Well said. So you've heard about the price surge, you've learned about the technology, the potential, the challenges.
Right.
We've even explored the philosophy and the ethical considerations surrounding Bitcoin.
Right.
What does all of this tell you about its future? Is it truly digital gold? A tool for change? Or just another speculative bubble?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I guess we will. This is a pivotal moment, and we're all a part of this unfolding narrative. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin.